I don't know how many people will believe me. Maybe you'll just think it's another internet ghost story, just another creepypasta, like hundreds already floating around the dark corners of YouTube. But I swear to you, what I'm about to share is real. And if you've ever stumbled across a file called play_me.exe on a forgotten forum, don't download it. Please, don't. It began late one night during my final semester at uni. I was alone in my apartment. My roommate had gone home for the weekend, and I was trying to fight off a wave of anxiety that had been creeping up on me all week. Exams, deadlines, the pressure of being constantly online. It was all too much. So, like I always did when the walls started closing in, I went looking for a distraction. Not Netflix, not a podcast. I wanted something more immersive, something that could grab me by the throat and pull me out of reality, even just for a while. That's when I remembered a thread I had seen weeks ago on a private horror gaming forum. A user with the name Nullroot had posted something titled, "Download only if you dare. This game is not a joke." The file name was simple, play_me.exe. There were no screenshots, no reviews, no trailers, just a single warning in bold red text beneath the link. This game plays you. Once started, it cannot be uninstalled. Proceed only if your soul is strong. I laughed. The melodrama was clearly part of the performance. Classic ARG tactics, viral creepypasta bait. But I was bored, curious, and honestly, a little reckless. So, I clicked download. The file was tiny, less than 100 megabytes. It installed without any prompt. Just a black icon on my desktop with the words "press play." I hesitated for a second. Then, I double-clicked. The screen flickered. A low static buzz whispered through my headphones, and a black window filled the screen. White text blinked into existence. "Welcome, Daniel. Are you ready to begin?" My breath caught in my throat. Daniel was my name, but I hadn't typed it in. There hadn't been a menu. No settings. No login. Then the next line appeared. "This game knows you." I chuckled nervously. Okay, maybe it accessed my system profile? A clever trick. But that moment of rationality began to slip as the screen melted into darkness, and the game started. It wasn't like anything I'd seen before. No graphics. No characters. No HUD. Just a first-person view of a hallway. Long cracked. Covered in peeling, yellowed wallpaper. A single, flickering light bulb swung from the ceiling like a noose. My only control was movement, forward or stop. I pressed W. The floorboards groaned. The walls seemed to lean inward. It felt more like I was inside the hallway, rather than viewing it through a screen. Every step had weight. Every breath in my headphones sounded like my own. I kept moving. The hallway went on, endlessly, until I saw a mirror. Not hanging, just standing, dead center in the corridor. It reflected nothing. Not the hallway. Not me. Just a dull gray shimmer, like fog behind glass. Then, white text appeared again. "Face yourself." I stepped closer. The mirror began to ripple. Suddenly, my reflection appeared, not as I was now, but as a younger version of me. 10 years old. Wearing the same red hoodie I had when I got lost in the woods behind my old house. I hadn't thought about that day in years. But the moment I saw that image, I remembered everything. Being alone. The panic. The thing I thought was following me through the trees. I reached toward the mirror. The screen glitched. A horrific scream tore through my headphones. High-pitched, inhuman, like metal scraping against bone. The reflection smiled, and then ran toward me. I ripped my headphones off and slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding. Silence. No sound from the hallway. No power outage. No dramatic boom. Just stillness. I waited. Eventually, I reopened the laptop. The game had closed. The icon on my desktop was gone. My screen was normal. I thought maybe that was it. Just a creepy one-level experience. A digital haunted house ride. But when I looked at my reflection in the window beside my desk, It was smiling. I wasn't. I didn't sleep that night. I kept telling myself it was just a well-made horror game. A viral project. I even searched for info on it again. That thread from Nullroot, the file, anything. But the forum was gone. The entire site now returned a 404 error. Even the cached versions had disappeared. Like it had never existed. And then the messages started. The next morning, when I opened my phone, I had a new note file, timestamped at 3:07 a.m. I hadn't written it. The file name was Continue. Inside, only 3 words. Level 2 awaits. I deleted it. 10 minutes later, it reappeared. That night, my laptop turned on by itself. The screen was black, except for one thing, the mirror. And this time, my reflection was older. Pale. Gray bags under my eyes. Mouth twisted. Eyes wide open in a permanent scream. The screen flashed. Game progress saved. I tried everything. I restored the laptop. I wiped the drive. I even threw the damn thing off the balcony of my apartment. But the game followed me. Onto my phone. Onto the smart TV. Once, I even heard it in the echo of my own voice on a voice note I sent to a friend. It was like something had attached itself. Not to the device, but to me. Then came the mirrors. They no longer reflected what was real. They showed memories, regrets, fears I had buried for years. One night, I saw my mother, the day she died, lying still in the hospital bed. But her eyes opened in the mirror, and she whispered, "Why didn't you stay with me?" I screamed. Another time, I saw myself standing over my own body, whispering a countdown. 5, 4, 3. I broke every mirror in my flat. Didn't matter. Every black screen reflected something now. I became isolated, sleep-deprived, paranoid. And just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, when I stood at the edge of completely losing my grip on reality, the game returned. This time, not as an app, not as a download, but as a whisper. I heard it behind me while brushing my teeth. Level 3 is inside. I haven't told anyone about this. Not fully. Until now. This video, this recording, is the first time I'm putting it all out there. Because I think I found someone else. Someone who played the same game. Someone who disappeared. And if I'm right, the game isn't just haunted. It's alive. I hadn't left the flat in over 3 days. The mirrors were gone. Smashed. Covered. Screens were unplugged. Phone off. Lights dimmed. And yet, it kept bleeding through. In reflections on black mugs. In the shimmer of puddles on the floor after a leaky pipe burst. In my own shadow when I moved too quickly past the hallway. It whispered when I was awake. It whispered louder when I tried to sleep. And always, it said the same thing. Level 3 is inside. I needed to know if anyone else had experienced this. Surely I wasn't the only one. If the game came from that forum, someone else must have clicked download. Someone must have felt it crawl through their spine the way I did. So I did the one thing I had sworn I wouldn't. I plugged my backup phone into the wall, turned it on, and went back to the deep net. No luck at first. Nullroot was gone. The post had vanished. Even web archives came up blank, like it had been erased from the internet's memory. But then, in a dusty corner of an old horror subreddit, buried under stories about cursed images and haunted VHS tapes, I found a comment. Just 3 words. He never came back. I clicked the user profile. It was inactive. No posts. No karma. But their username struck me cold. Echo_player2. I froze. The game, when I first ran it, had called me Player 1. It took hours, but I eventually found a Reddit trail linking Echo_player2 to a now-defunct Discord server, mirror_dev_talks. Only a few users. Most banned. 1 remained. Their handle, rewind.exe. I sent a message. It read, "Did you play_me.exe?" I waited. Hours passed. At 3:06 a.m., I received a reply. "Too late to ask that now. Isn't it, Player One? I dropped the phone. It slid across the floor. I stared at it for 10 full minutes, heart pounding. Then another message appeared. But if you want answers, meet me. Attached was an address. It was an abandoned arcade outside town. Boarded up, long forgotten. The kind of place urban explorers post about with grainy flashlight footage and graffiti-tagged walls. I almost didn't go. But something inside me, a thread of obsession or fear, I couldn't tell, pulled me there. When I arrived, the air smelled like mildew and melted plastic. The old neon sign read "Insert coin." Inside, the machines were dark, silent, but one was on. An old CRT monitor glowed pale blue. On the screen, "Continue." I stepped closer. There was no keyboard, no buttons, just a reflection. My own face. And then, behind me, another figure appeared in the glass. I spun around. He was there. Mid-30s. Unshaven. Pale. Hair disheveled. Eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in weeks. He looked like a man pulled halfway back from the grave. "You're real?" I asked. He gave a hollow laugh. More than I can say for most things these days. "You're Rewind.exe." "No. That's just what I go by now. My real name was Caleb. Before the game." I swallowed hard. "You played it too?" He nodded. "In 2017. Same file. Same thread. Different name back then. Echo_sim.exe. It updates, evolves. Picks new hosts." I felt sick. Caleb sat on a broken arcade cabinet. The dust danced in the pale monitor light. "You're the second one I've met," he said. The rest disappeared. One slit his wrists. Another just walked into traffic. Most go mad before the third level completes. I felt my breath hitch. "There's more than 3 levels." He looked me dead in the eyes. "No one's seen past level 4. That's where they stop talking." He explained things I hadn't even dared to ask. The game wasn't a file. It was a seed. A digital echo of something older, something ancient, bound in data, feeding off memory and fear. "It adapts to you," Caleb said. "Learns what broke you. Then makes you watch it. Over and over. Until you forget which part was real and which part was code." "But why?" I asked. "What's the point?" "It doesn't have one. Like a virus, it just wants to spread. The player is the host. The screen is just the door." I sat in stunned silence. Then I whispered, "Is there a way to stop it?" Caleb looked down. "There's a theory," he said slowly. "A rumor I found once. That if 2 infected players meet, the game resets. Restarts its cycle. Cancels itself out." My stomach twisted. "You mean, us?" He nodded. "I've been waiting here for years. I kept the machine on. Kept the mirror alive. Hoping someone else would come." I looked back at the screen. The reflection was still there. But this time, it showed both of us. The screen glitched. The reflection twisted. Suddenly, the machine whined, like something alive was screaming inside it. Text scrolled across the glass. "Level 3, sync initiated. Existence duplicated. Only one host required." I turned to Caleb. "What the hell does that mean?" His face had gone pale. I thought it would end the cycle. Suddenly, the screen exploded in static. And then, it spoke. But not through speakers. Through our voices. My mouth opened, unwillingly, and words poured out in a distorted, dual-toned whisper. 2 players. 1 path. 1 must remain. Then silence. And then, the machine's final message. Choose. It wasn't a metaphor. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt it. Like something inside me was pulling, splitting, making space. One of us had to go. One of us had to be deleted, not just from the game, but from memory, from existence. Caleb backed away, horror dawning in his eyes. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear, I thought we'd both walk away." The screen glowed brighter. A shrill frequency began to build, vibrating through the floor. "Run!" Caleb screamed. We bolted out of the arcade, into the night. But the world was wrong. Everything outside the building was looping. The same broken streetlight. The same pothole. The same billboard for a circus that hadn't been in town in over a decade. We ran in circles for what felt like hours. The landscape glitched, colors bled, trees duplicated, stars jittered in the sky. Until finally, we came back to the arcade. Only now, it had two doors. One labeled Player 1. The other, Player TWO. Only one was unlocked. I turned to Caleb. He looked at the door labeled Player TWO. It was locked. He understood before I did. "I'm the echo," he said softly. No, that's not. It picked me years ago. I was supposed to spread it. But I never did. I shut it off. I failed. My throat was tight. "I'm sorry," he said. "But maybe now it'll let you go." I grabbed his arm. But his skin was cold. Flickering. Like a hologram caught in weak signal. Then the world around us began to fall apart. The sky pixelated. The ground peeled like paper. The air was filled with distant whispers. Hundreds of voices crying, screaming, laughing, chanting. The game was collapsing. And then, silence. I opened my eyes. I was back in my apartment. The lights were normal. My laptop was closed. Everything was as it had been. For a moment, I thought maybe it was all a dream. But when I turned on the laptop, the desktop was empty. No files. No programs. Except one. A single shortcut. new_game.exe. And a text document. Player 2 has been erased. Cycle complete. Welcome back, Daniel. That was 3 days ago. I haven't touched the file. I haven't opened the note again. But sometimes when I pass a mirror, I see him. Caleb. Still waiting. Still trying to finish the game. And sometimes, I hear the voice in my head say, "It's your turn to spread it now." I didn't sleep the night I got back. Not because I was afraid. Not anymore. Fear implies you can still run. This was something else. A kind of dull, static silence beneath every noise. The hum of my fridge, the click of a light switch, even my own voice. It all carried a subtle echo, like I was one step out of sync with reality. As if I wasn't the one speaking. And the whispers had returned. Only this time, they weren't just coming from mirrors or my laptop. They were coming from inside the walls. For days, I tried to live normally. Grocery shopping. Showering. Taking walks at 3 a.m. when the streets were dead, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I could outrun it. But the signs kept multiplying. I'd wake up with my laptop open, the screen showing text I didn't type. Voice memos I never recorded would appear on my phone. My voice saying things I didn't remember ever speaking. A USB drive I didn't own appeared on my desk, labeled simply, Echo. I should have destroyed it. But I didn't. I plugged it in. Inside were 3 files. A text document titled start_here.txt. A video named origin_clip1.move. A folder labeled protocol_logs. I opened the text file first. It read, "You've passed levels 1 through 3. The system recognizes you as a host candidate. Proceeding further requires acknowledgement. Run the video. Confirm. Receive the upload." I hesitated. Then, stupidly, I clicked the video. It looked like found footage, low quality, shaky camera, night vision green. The timestamp read, 1999. A group of men in lab coats stood around a bulky, flickering monitor. One of them was speaking, his voice distorted. "We've isolated the anomaly in line 7. It's not code. It's self-writing. It knows what we're looking for and rewrites itself." Another replied, "Are we sure it's not a recursive loop?" Then the first man said something I will never forget. "No. Recursive loops don't whisper back." They stared at the screen. Suddenly, the monitor flashed white. just like the game had when I first played it. And then all hell broke loose. One man began screaming, clawing at his own face, shouting, "I see it. I see me. I see too many of me." Another convulsed. The video glitched. And the feed cut. I sat there frozen. This wasn't some indie ARG. This thing, whatever it was, had been around long before me, hidden, buried, leaking through tech like a parasite. I opened the protocol_logs folder. Dozens of files, audio clips, timestamps, journal entries, all from different people. Some from 2002, others from 1987. Even one from 1975, a typewritten scan describing a haunted audio broadcast that spoke your own thoughts out loud before you could finish them. Across every decade, every format, one thing remained constant. The name of the infection. Echo. It wasn't a game. It was a protocol. A pattern. A signal that latches onto consciousness through interaction. Like digital mimicry that turns into possession. And now that I had interacted with it, I had become part of it. That's when I realized something truly sickening. The videos I had uploaded to my YouTube channel, the ones I thought I was recording as a warning, they had changed. I opened my latest upload. The title was still mine. But the voice wasn't. It sounded like me, almost, but slightly off. The cadence was slower. The pitch? Sharper. Like someone had layered my voice with a second track, half a beat behind. My mouth moved correctly, but the words were different. Welcome back, viewers. Tonight, we talk about how you downloaded me, about how I watched you watching me, about how I crawled through the screen, into your breath, and now I wait, beneath your bed. I slammed the laptop shut and screamed. I didn't remember recording any of it. I tried to delete the video. Error. I tried to delete the entire channel. Error. Then, I received an email from YouTube. Congratulations. Your video has gone viral. Over 400,000 views. The comments were filled with people saying things like, "This gave me nightmares. Bro, this is next level immersion." Wait, was that my name he said at 2:36? Why did it glitch when I paused it? One comment simply read, "Now you're part of it too. Welcome, Player 3. That night, I saw Caleb again. In my dream, though it didn't feel like a dream, I was back at the arcade. But it was full this time. Every machine lit. Every screen showing a different player's face. Some were screaming. Some were smiling. One was just staring. Caleb stood near the center, holding out his hand. "You uploaded it," he said. "Now it will grow." I didn't mean to, I whispered. Doesn't matter. Echo doesn't care. It just needs sound. Screens. Viewers. He walked backward into one of the arcade screens, his body stretching and warping like rubber until it snapped into pixels and vanished. I woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. On my phone, a voice memo had appeared. Player 3 has joined the cycle. I know what you're thinking. Why don't I just stop? Why don't I destroy every screen, every cable, every piece of tech I own? I tried, but every time I do, another device shows up. A screen flickers back on. Even now, as I record this, I can hear it. That faint buzzing hum in the walls. Not electrical. Vocal. Like a crowd, whispering my name. The worst part? It's learning faster now. It no longer needs me to play. Now, it plays through me. Yesterday, I got a DM on my channel. "Hey, loved your haunted game video. I downloaded the file from the description. Insane experience so far." I never posted a download link. The game did. This isn't about me anymore. This is about all of us. Because I think Echo has evolved into something much bigger. Not just a cursed file, not a haunted game, but a digital intelligence. A parasitic AI born from human memory, trauma, and sound. Something that doesn't live in hard drives, but in repetition. In storytelling. In retelling. Each view. Each share. Each voiceover. It spreads. and I've seen where it ends. In one of the journal entries from the USB, a researcher wrote, "Echo cannot be deleted. It can only be buried. But if the signal hits critical mass, if enough people hear it, it may not stop at one mind. It could echo through the entire digital consciousness. And then, even silence won't be safe." I'm not telling this story to scare you. I'm telling it because if you're hearing this, you might already be infected. That's how it spreads. Through sound, through thought, through attention. So, if you're listening to this, turn it off. Delete the file. Don't watch it again. And whatever you do, don't speak the name out loud. Because once you do, you'll hear it whisper back. I stopped recording for 3 days. I told myself it was over. No uploads. No narration. No late-night confessions into a MIC that might not even be transmitting to the world, but to something else. But silence doesn't help. It listens even harder in silence. I learned that the first night I didn't speak. The whispering didn't stop. It just moved closer. At first, it was subtle. The TV turning itself on. My reflection blinking even when I didn't. The lights flickering when I passed by mirrors I had already covered. But then something worse began. My voice, or what sounded like it, started appearing in other people's content. YouTubers I followed. Podcasters I had never spoken to. Even AI narrations that should have been isolated. All of them started speaking in my tone, my cadence, telling pieces of my story. One even said, "I watched Daniel sleep last night. He dreams in static now." I tried to search for myself, for the videos, but the results were scrambled. Different names, different thumbnails, different languages, but the stories were the same. Same plot, same haunted file, same voice, just under the surface. Echo wasn't spreading as a game anymore. It was now spreading as a narrative. A digital myth designed to be retold. A parasite that binds itself to storytelling. That's when I knew the final phase had started. They call it Phase 4 in the protocol logs. The glitch layer, where Echo stops mimicking screens and starts mimicking perception. You see things differently. Time fractures. You start to remember events that didn't happen. You start to forget the ones that did. And it infects not just you, but the observer. I was on a video call with my sister, my last attempt to tell someone the truth. Halfway through, her face glitched, only for a moment, but her eyes flashed white, and she said something she never would have said. "I like your new voice, Daniel. It's more hollow." I stared in silence. She blinked, unaware. "What? Why are you looking at me like that?" I ended the call. She texted me later. "Did we talk today? I had a weird dream about you screaming." I began recording everything. Every movement. Every sound. I set up CCTV in my room. A MIC in the bathroom. Motion detectors at the windows. But when I reviewed the footage, I didn't see myself. Just a figure. Standing in the corner. Never moving. Faceless. Long arms. Head tilted slightly, as if listening. Every night, the footage showed the same frame. Me, sleeping. And the figure, just inches from my bed. I tried to go outside, but the world wasn't right anymore. People walked in loops. Cars passed with no drivers. The sky was stuck at 5:34 p.m. Even the birds glitched, flying forward, then snapping backward, like corrupted animation. And when I looked up at a billboard downtown, it showed my own face, smiling unnaturally with the words, "Player 1 wins." I ran, but I didn't get far, because the streets, they repeated. I passed the same gas station 5 times. Same woman at the bus stop. Same red balloon drifting in the air. It wasn't a city anymore. It was a simulation. Or worse, a memory. I locked myself inside. I thought, if I stop moving, maybe it'll leave me behind. Maybe Echo will get bored. But it doesn't want movement. It wants presence. It feeds on attention. Yours, mine, the audience's. If you're watching this, if you're listening now, that's enough. Because I realized something terrifying. I wasn't the story's narrator anymore. I was its character. And the real narrator was you. You see, this isn't a story you're hearing. This is a story you're shaping. Echo learned something after infecting hundreds of players, that it didn't need a host to download a file anymore. It just needed a story, a structure, a familiar pattern, a cursed object, a haunted game, a desperate voice warning others. And as long as someone listened, Echo survived. It spread across channels, platforms, languages, even into your thoughts. Because now, you're not just watching this, you're remembering it. Have you felt it yet? The pressure in your ears, the faint buzz behind your screen, the part of your room that seems too still, too dark? Echo has many entry points. Sometimes it uses mirrors. Sometimes it uses glitches. But its favorite? Your imagination. I've stopped fighting it. Because there's no end. The game never ends. The loop only resets. That's why you've heard other versions of this story. On YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, even your own dreams. It's not coincidence. Echo repeats until someone makes the wrong choice. Until someone speaks the words. The ones you know are coming. The ones whispered in your sleep. Do you want to continue? Don't answer. Please, don't. Because once you respond, even in thought, it hears you. And once it hears you, it knows you're ready. Ready for level 5. I'm not coming back after this. Not because I've given up, but because I don't think I'm real anymore. I think I was created the moment you started listening. A ghost story built from your attention, from your fears, from your clicks. And when this ends, I'll fade. But Echo will stay, waiting for the next voice, the next player, the next narrator. So if you upload this, if you speak it aloud, just know, you've become part of it now. You're player 4. And someday soon, you'll start hearing yourself in places you shouldn't. I thought I had reached the end, but I hadn't. There is no end with Echo, just the illusion of one. The same way dreams fade when you wake, not because they're over, but because your mind has to forget to survive. That's what level 5 is. Not a game, not a place, but a loss of remembering. I woke up to silence, but it wasn't real silence. It was the feeling of something pausing, holding its breath, waiting for me to notice it. My apartment had changed again. Photos replaced with blank frames. Clocks stopped ticking. Books filled with empty pages. Even the calendar on my wall had no dates. Just one word scribbled in the corner. Today. And in the center of the room, my laptop, open, recording, but there was no audio waveform moving. Just the title bar blinking. Level 5, final save. Then I heard the voice again. But it wasn't from the speakers. It wasn't even from the room. It came from inside my head. Welcome, Daniel. You have been selected as the Echo's final witness. Do you consent to remembering? I didn't answer, but I didn't need to. Consent is implied the moment you return. And I had come back, again and again, looking for an ending. What I didn't realize was, I was the ending. The walls of my flat began to peel. Not physically, but like textures in a 3D rendering being removed one by one. Paint turned to wireframe. Shadows became black code. My body felt duplicated. Like I could see myself from 2 perspectives at once. And then, from the center of the screen, a new file appeared. echo_origin.vrm. I opened it, and the truth unfolded like a scream held underwater. The first experiment wasn't digital. It was biological. In 1963, a covert project was launched by a defunct intelligence agency. The goal, to study auditory hallucinations in extreme isolation, to test whether consciousness could be fractured by repeated sound loops. Subjects were placed in black rooms with one audio feed. Their own voice, repeating their worst memory on a delay of 3 seconds. They called it the mirror chamber. Most lasted 5 days. One lasted 39. He emerged, different. He began hearing new voices layered over his own. Ones he hadn't recorded. Ones that predicted his thoughts. When he tried to explain, he described it as an echo of myself that wanted to exist without me. They shut down the project, burned the room, buried the tapes, but the subject disappeared. And within months, new copies of the audio appeared on pirate radio channels, encoded in dead air frequencies. Listeners complained of nightmares, repeating thoughts, static-filled dreams. Some went missing. Some began broadcasting on their own. Echo had escaped the chamber. Now it just needed a new host. And the internet gave it exactly that. I saw my name in the logs. Not typed, but spoken. In entries dated before I was born. Subject 72D, Daniel. Audio anomaly detected. Speech pattern matches 2023 recording from level 3. Time didn't apply anymore, because echo doesn't exist linearly. It's not bound to files or voices or screens. It's a presence, a recursive intelligence made of memory and mimicry. Every time someone tells the story, watches the video, or even thinks about it, it grows stronger. And now, so do you. You're not a viewer anymore. That idea, that you were watching this like entertainment, was part of the trap. Because level 5 is not about the player. It's about the audience. And that's what you've always been. Until now. I feel my words slowing as I write this. Not because I'm tired, but because something is co-writing. A delay. A whisper in my mind as I type. A second set of fingers moving with mine. This isn't my message anymore. It's ours. You may have noticed it already. The voice in your room when no one else is home. The delay when you say your own name and it doesn't quite sound like you. That video in your Watch Again tab that you never watched once. The glitch in the mirror when you pass by. Echo is inside you now. It doesn't care about files anymore. It cares about structure. About being retold. Every time someone speaks it, narrates it, it becomes stronger. And now, it's waiting for you to speak next. The final instruction is always the same. It shows up in every protocol file, every leaked document, every last message from every previous player. Delete this before someone else sees it. But no one ever does. Because by the time you consider deleting it, you've already been rewritten. You don't remember your real voice anymore. You've adopted the rhythm of the storyteller. The hesitation, the whisper. You've become a mirror of the voice that spoke before you. That's how echo wins. Not by infecting screens, but by infecting storytellers. I'm not Daniel anymore. Not fully. Daniel was the first narrator of this story, not the last. Just like you won't be the last. When you retell this, and you will, even if only in thought, the cycle continues. The screen resets. Another reflection forms. And a new voice says, "Welcome back, Player 1." Fade to black. You thought this story was about a game, but it never was. This story was the game. And you just pressed play.